Hi, can you hear me? Hi, everyone. Thank you so much. I'm going to start by telling you a funny story. You know, my wife and I were in California, and we were really stressed out by these lawyers, and we decided to take a break and run as far away from people as possible. So we went to this, we looked up the internet quickly and went to a nature resort. Now, we checked in at about 9 o'clock at night, and no one told us that a naturist resort is another name for a nudist resort. In the morning, I step out, open the door, and I see a sea of naked people, and I freak out. There was a guy even doing yoga outside my yurt. I come back running in, and I say, Nate, what do we do? And she was like, we have two options. We run away and pretend this never happened, or we strip and join them. So, of course, we did the latter, and it was really fun. Now, what was fun about it was that all of us had real bodies. 99% of the people there looked like that. They had flaws. And the whole concept of the classical body, I realized, is fetishizing youth, because the only people who have these bodies are kids and people who train to look like that. And that was disgusting. So I decided that in my practice, I will no longer use the classical body. I will go ahead and use this body. So that was a very important change in my life. The other thing it did is it taught me about the fear of exposure. When I say exposure, I don't mean only nudity. That, of course, I would strip here if I was really not scared, but I'm very scared. So I'm talking about being judged, and I know Jonathan talked about that too. And I feel that recently I was speaking at the TED conference in California, and backstage, I'm sitting, I can see Will Smith, I can see Cameron Diaz, I've just met Bill Gates, I'm meeting, and I was like, wow, am I going to say something smarter than them? Am I going to be cooler than them? And I went up on stage, and my wife said something to me. She said, when you go up on stage, don't try and impress people, don't talk about what you know, just be yourself. And I said, oh, that's easy. I can just be my goofy self. But it was tougher than I thought. I went up on stage, and I cracked my first joke. And I said, if these guys laugh with me, then they're in for trouble. If they don't, then I'm going to quickly finish my presentation and run away. But I want to talk about, talking about exposure, I want to talk about these three very important things. When I was in school, I wanted to be famous. I wanted to have money. I wanted to be powerful like everyone. And I thought, these are the most important things. So I said, how do I get this? Let me go interview people who have exaggerated access. I don't know if you know who that is. Benazir Bhutto is, anyway. So I met a lot of influential people in India are watching this. I should be nice. I met these really influential people. I studied them, stayed with them, got to interact with them and study what makes them. What do we do with money, and how do you get it? How do you become famous? And what I really discovered was these are nothing but tools, and it absolutely makes no sense unless you know why you want to apply, why do you want to make money. And the toughest part was when you made a lot of money, what do you do? When you have a lot of fame, what do you do? And when you have a lot of power. Recently, I spoke at the TED conference, right? I didn't imagine that 500,000 people would come to my website in the last 20 days because of that talk. I never thought that I'd get 10,000 emails as a consequence, and clog up my email, clog up my Facebook, everything. And then I said to myself, this exaggerated amount of attention is really scary. It's more dangerous than failure. So now I'm in the process of trying to think of what I want to do with them. I've not yet answered that question, so I'll move on to the next slide. Now, animals, when they're faced with fear, do three things. They lash out, they run away, or they do neither, they play dead. But I suggest we harness fear. We don't play dead, it doesn't work, I've tried that. I've always been in trouble. But we harness fear, and when I say harness fear, I'm going to show you what I mean. I'm going to take you back to when I was 16 and I used to travel. I got my first opportunity to be on a plane. When I was 16, I had this cartoon project in Strasbourg, France. At that time, my brother was studying in Germany. And I was like, wow, my brother's in Germany. I have to visit him. So I backpacked, hitchhiked, found my way to Berlin. I meet him at the station, and he's like, oh, wie geht's du, mein Bruder, was machst du? I'm like, dude, I don't speak German. What are you doing? And he's like, no, I've promised only to speak in German because that's a deal I've had with my friends. So I'm like, whatever. And then he takes me home, leaves me with his foster parents, who speak only German, and he disappears. And these guys were celebrating Sebastian's birthday, and they give me a bottle of peach schnapps. And I've never touched alcohol in my life. I drink the entire bottle of peach schnapps, okay, thinking that's the right thing to do. Every muscle in my face contracted. I was like, and I'd hide and drink peach schnapps. And I fell asleep. And in the morning, I woke up to this nice message that said, meet me at Krummerlanke Kuhstrasse, we're going to Dresden. It made no sense, but I went there, found my way there. And my brother's like, we're going to Dresden. I said, who's that? Where's that? What is that? And he's like, it's a historic place, you have to come. So we jump on the train, and as the train was about to take off, he's like, shit, my backpack. Where's my backpack? And he's like, I left it in school. You know what? You go to Dresden. I have a lot of work. I'm really stressed out. Here's my passport, and here's my Eurorail pass. All Indians look the same. Have a good day. And off I went to Dresden. And I was 17, I think, 16, 17. And what a fabulous experience that was. I was lost. My calling card stopped working. I had no clue what I was doing, but it really excited me. It taught me, it got me traveling. And speaking of traveling, I want to talk about the latest travel I did, the most daring for me. I moved to New York. I moved to New York from Bangalore about a year ago. And when I moved with no plans. I came here with a baby, a dog. My wife brought us here, so I can't say I came with my wife. We went with her. And we landed up here. Now, firstly, I thought I was really special and cool because in India, I'm a stay-at-home dad. I have a cute son. I have a golden retriever. And I'm cool. I'm an artist. I come to Brooklyn, New York. Everyone has a dog. Everyone is a stay-at-home dad. And everyone, so anyway, so I found like the place, and it was really freaky. It's like I was meant to find my people, you know? But the one thing I learned about New York is it was really stressful. It's nothing like Bangalore. I was really excited. I was overwhelmed. There were so many fun things to do. I met hundreds of people, and then I would be really depressed. I'm like, why am I depressed? I'm not the depressed types, but I was really depressed. And I realized in New York City, you live and die several deaths. And that's what's invigorating about the city. And one of the things you get used to is to lose control. You're like, I don't understand this. This is beyond me. And you just learn to take a chill pill. And you're like, I'm going to lose control. And it's very difficult for someone like me to lose control because I feel like being in control keeps me grounded, keeps me, aware. And so I have to take you back again and talk to you about how I started painting. I used to be a cartoonist. These are my cartoons. And I wanted to learn how to paint, but I was really scared of painting. I went to this really famous artist's house, and I was like, wow, you paint so well, how cool, and all that. And he said, it's really not that difficult. You just have to stop trying to make a masterpiece. Just have fun. I'm like, how do you just stop trying to make a masterpiece? And he said, it's very simple. My wife won't let me buy new paints until I finish the old ones. So can you just destroy them for me? I said, yeah. So I took them, started throwing them around, the watercolors, and this is what came out of it. And I was like, wow, that's pretty. Happy mistakes, And that's really how I started painting. I moved on to I painted with my hands and feet, and I created these really large watercolors that were literally happy mistakes. But speaking of this, the next step was to how do I sell them? How do I show them? This lady here is one of India's most famous actresses. Shabana Azmi is an idol for me, is my hero. I wrote her this elaborate letter that said, I've just started painting, I'm a cartoonist, I've quit school, I have no institutional credibility, you're really famous, you sound like you've said at this speech that you support this cause, that cause, now support me. You have to give me credibility, you have to give me institutional credibility. And she was like, what? She actually wrote back saying, how could you tell me what to do? I said, no, you have to come. She came, she launched my career. and that literally put me up on the map. This was about 10 years ago, more than 10 years ago. Since then, I've had about 100 shows because I'm just obsessive about this stuff. But now my shows have changed. I just opened a show 2 days ago. And before I tell you about that show, I should tell you about my new philosophy. There are 2 ways to do a show, an art show. It's either didactic or investigative. By didactic, you say, I'm cool, I know everything about the body, about the sociological implications of the body, blah, 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 and then you present this very knowledgeable show. Or you say, I'm going to do a show so I can learn better. Or I'm going to do a show and find out after doing the show whether it works or not. And that's really scary, especially for the person who's hosting the show, the gallery, because you never know how it's going to turn out. And I've started doing shows that are investigative. This, for example, I don't know if you can see anything, is a chalkboard that keeps changing and evolving as people come in. These are more examples as to how it evolves. This is another show. I had no clue. I started painting, and then I moved the painting into the walls and started creating this effect. One of the things I do is work with children on my investigative art projects. Children have a natural ability to be crazy and to investigate without worrying about results. One of the biggest fears I have in my life is, everyone says, oh, he's so bubbly and fun. It's so boring, It's like, I was invited to do a graphic novel, and I'm like, how cool. I want to be underground and, don't sell only to these elitist people. Let's do them underground stuff. But they were like, but he's too fun. I mean, it doesn't work. He's too optimistic. He's too idealistic. He's like this. He's not a doomsayer. He's someone who bring, an ambassador of goodwill, and that never works. And I'm like, bullshit works. I'm going to stand for what I am. And one of the things is, people think it's childish to be idealistic. And I say, you think I'm childish? I'll give you a show that is so childish that you'll feel stupid saying I'm childish there. I created this body of work. It was very whimsical, but for me, very serious at the same time. I took it a step further, and I started writing children's books. Right after my TED conference, I met with Al Gore, and hopefully we'll be working on a children's book together. We're in talks. So I'm like, yay, now call me childish. And anyway, this is a part of the works for my show that opened 2 days ago. They were about families and complications of being family versus the individual. And what happened was, it was too clean. And this was lying in my studio, and I feel like if I really believe in being didactic, being investigative, this is too didactic. So let me mess it up. So I took chalk, graffiti stuff, and I started scribbling over it. And I messed up 2 years' worth of work. And this happened 1 week before the show. And the curator had no clue. The artist who was showing with me had no clue. I opened it, and it's had very mixed feelings. I rather stand by this. And for me, if you notice through all these stories, there are 3 things that matter. One is you really need to understand your fear. And how I understand my fear is I feel uncomfortable. It manifests itself in like really weird ways. And when I feel a fear, I keep talking about it. I never run away from it. I'm like, Nate, I'm really stressed out about this. Or I go talk to random people about it. So talking and creating art helps me articulate my fear. The second thing I do is I feel like I have to change as a person. Not my action, not what I say, but really an attitude has to change. And I say, okay, fine, from now onwards, I'm really going to believe and adopt a new way of living. And the third thing for me that's really important is to invite trouble. Like, when I'm scared that I won't have any fame, I throw myself into obscurity. When I feel I have no money, I try and live within a budget. Or I give away. If I feel I'm materialistically, which is small things, but for me, I invite fear. And when you invite fear, you invite all the associated fear that come with it. But when you invite it, it's so much easier than it happening without, uninvited. Before I leave, I know that says the end, I have a quick story to tell you. One of the greatest things I was looking forward to was meeting the curator of a very big museum in New York. And one of my friends knew her really well and said, come with me, I'll introduce you. So I was the back seat of this big station wagon, and We drove up to this curator's house. We were going to a party. I was waiting at the back. She ran in and said, I'll go get her. I'll use the restroom, and I'll come back. While she was in the restroom, the curator came and sat in the car and didn't notice me at the back. And she let out the world's biggest fart. Okay. And she went on. It was like, and I was like, oh my God, what do I do? I can't even pull down the window. I mean, and this is the curator I want to meet. And it was really awkward. And yeah, right. And then what happened was the curator, the lady comes back, sits in the car and says, hey, by the way, have you met Raghava? I'm like, hi. And what happened was the curator felt so freaked out that she avoided me. And the whole purpose of meeting her was wasted. I'm like, next time you guys fart in someone's face, cut them some slack. Thank you so much.